It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. My name is Steve Pulaski, and I love having interesting people in the studio. That's exactly what this gentleman is right here. Got to be treated to the sweet sounds of his music and his musical repertoire a couple of weekends ago with my girlfriend out at Hoof at Galena. That was a lot of fun. Wanted to get him on the show. Wanted you to know his name. It's Mr. Steve McIntyre, local musician here in the Tri-States. Steve, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
You were absolutely fantastic. You stole my heart immediately. That Saturday night we were over in Galena after we just got done gallivanting with goats and everything. You stole my heart immediately when we walked around by the bonfire setup, me and my girlfriend, and you were playing Harry Chapin's Taxi.
Yep, that's one of my newest ones that I just recorded in the studio. I take different musicians from around the area, and if I can't do it myself, like violins or whatever, I'll just either use GarageBand or I'll use just local musicians and stuff. So I like doing that. I play with backtracks. So
there's a lot to talk about with this and your musical career and stuff that I want to get into as well. What kind of music would you say that you play?
Oh boy, classic rock is probably about the best description of it. But the classic country too. When country was not its own genre, it was pretty much you mixed it with classic rock. I mean, Eagles, I would classify them as more classic country now as opposed to classic rock, right? I mean,
especially their early stuff.
Yeah, the early stuff with Bernie Ledman. Yep. So with the banjo and all kinds of stuff that he would play. So that's probably where I'd sit my sweet spot. But you can also say Jimmy Buffett is in that genre as well. So
big Buffett fan.
I love Jimmy. It's good stuff. We lost a good one last year.
Yeah, we did. That's for sure. He is Steve McIntyre, again, local musician right here in the Tri-States. You play around with backtracks. You actually record, and you have a studio where you can record, and you have backtracks that you utilize. Talk about that, because I think that makes you very unique too.
Well, I just feel that people want a good experience when they're out listening to music and stuff, and some guy playing his guitar in the corner somewhere is usually just background music. But if you have a backtrack, a little full sound, a lot of the empty space is filled, right? So
sure.
It gives it a fuller experience when I play. But I haven't always done that. I usually I started just playing a few of them, and now I've got somewhere close to 300 different songs that I have the backtracks for. And I do those in my studio. I'll use either local musicians from around here, like LAC, Scott Guthrie, or some of those other ones that are around here that are really, really good. Or I'll use my brother. My brother Larry plays keyboards, bass. He's playing in a band in Chicago called The Neighborhood. So if you ever get back to Chicago and listen to The Neighborhood, my brother's the bass player for them. He's also in 2 other bands with 2 other people as well. So he's a really good musician, and I like to use him. He plays keyboards, bass, and others. And then I've got a nephew that plays drums. I've got another friend in the Galena Territories play drums, Dave Noss. So I just use these people and ask them to play along, and it's really good. I love it.
What's the website people can learn more about you or even look to book you, man?
Thanks for asking, Steve. It's musicwithsteve.com. Musicwithsteve.com.
Musicwithsteve.com. You can learn all about Steve McIntyre over there. I guess going forward then, too, or just another question for you, really, how did you get into music? How did you start playing?
Oh, just like any high school kid, right? You want to attract the girls. I got into it when I was in high school. I have this story when I talk about the song Turn the Page. If you Wikipedia Turn the Page, I didn't know this, but it's about those guys traveling on Highway 20. And the second verse on that song is all about the experience those guys got as they traveled through Dubuque. And so I say this song is all about Dubuque. And people know, oh no, but you Wikipedia it, and now Bob Seger didn't know where he was at the time,
right?
He probably didn't know where he was most of the time, but his road manager said he was in Dubuque and stuff. So and if
you think about it lyrically, Lonesome Highway east of Omaha,
that's where we are. So it's kind of fun that way, and you kind of mingle in some of the backgrounds about some of these songs as you're playing them and stuff. So.
He is Steve McIntyre. Anything else that you'd like to note, too, just about, your process, anything creatively? What's a song? I know you probably have a ton, but is there a particular song that you really love to play? Does it maybe elicit an emotional response from the audience? Do you see people get into it or something like that? Any songs that you could think of stand out?
Boy, there's so many songs in that 60s to 70s classic rock genre that just is incredible. The experience I'm going after is where, well, I'll tell you about an experience I had over at Woodbine Bend. A lady walks up to me after I played Harry Chafin's Circle. And she walks up to me and she says, you know what? She says, I haven't heard that song since I saw him in concert in 1972. And I said, that's what I'm going after. That's exactly where were you when you heard this song, when you were listening to this song in your car, where were you? And that's the kind of experience I look for is remembering a time in their life when they were happy and enjoyed listening to music, and that's what I'm going for. So,
musicwithsteve.com to learn more about Mr. Steve McIntyre. I greatly appreciate your time, man, and I recommend that if people get the opportunity to hear the sweet sounds of your music, man, to do so, because you were phenomenal a couple of weeks ago when we saw you for the first time out in Galena. So I just want to say tip of the cap, too. And you played me some CCR, too. I really want to shout out. Lodi sounded great, by the way.
Thanks.
He is Steve McIntyre. Again, musicwithsteve.com. Steve, real pleasure having you in studio today.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate you having me.